It should totally work on the live stream. What, is someone there listening to it now? Maybe I'll turn down Morchiba. Dear Morchiba, you need to be turned down. Sorry, Morchiba.
I hear the sound.
Got any reggae fans in the audience? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, let's bring down. There we go. So here we are, Tuesday morning. GD44 2D game presentations. And how loud am I? 1, 2, 1, 2. I could probably turn myself up if I was back there at the mixer. And yes, it's stinking bright. If it doesn't hurt, you're doing it wrong. Retina's not functioning. Luckily, I'm legally blind, so it doesn't really matter. I'm all good. Where's the Braille keyboard? Do you think there's a video game niche for blind people?
Yeah, that would be better.
What would it be? I don't know. You think? Get back. See, it was too loud, I couldn't hear anything. And I'm bad at lip reading too. Yeah, I'm gonna turn up the microphone more. This is too quiet. I'm also gonna switch the batteries out. No, it's gonna slide.
Yeah. What's the link? So I sent you the link.
No, sorry.
Are we just streaming nothing right now? Yeah, we are.
We are streaming. Why did haven't you set it up to 10?
Yeah, we should have. I mean, it's not an official right? Or do you want to restart the stream again?
Yeah, this should be the link.
Huh?
This should be the link.
That's the link? Do you want to restart the stream or? So that we won't have like half an hour in dead space?
Okay.
This is the problem right now is there was no effect, right? Because normally
1, 2, 2, 2. Hey, this one's working again.
testing to make sure everything's focused for you guys, right? So right now we have a stream working, it's broadcasting like
Now.
this.
Yeah, I know. But I'm saying, like, if my parents are at work right now, watching it.
They should be able to watch all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are we just missing one team?
But it'll be like the same thing.
You make the call, I have to go control the teams are downstairs.
Okay.
But you still have a lot of games.
You're responsible for that.
Yeah, I was like looking at your friend, but
It didn't send through to our VFS emails.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure that this is the right writing.
2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hey.
Yeah, you guys are in the group.
change once you start trimming for the like fat?
No, it doesn't exist right now.
And with the same link on the right.
I'm gonna eat off the presentation, but I can't do it right now.
Oh no, it's GD.
Oh yeah.
You can email it to me directly if you want. I'm sharing it at
Oh yeah, most of the time because everything's shitty without it.
Well, actually, no. Sorry, I had 2, and then I had 3. Yeah, but it's the break in the middle. It's like, it's like, go to bed. Oh, I'm super tired. I'm at bed for the whole week, and it's only Tuesday. Okay, go to sleep at 10:30. Work. Good stuff. 3:30. 4 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Okay. Yeah. Let's go. So the 45?
well, now everyone will get it. Yeah. So at least I'll put it still put it on the back.
I can't get like the email on my phone.
Why? You can just get a new email Outlook one.
It doesn't like it. Don't ask me why.
That's why I'm going.
Okay, so I'm just going to go over a little bit of microphone technique for you guys, just so you're
Okay,
you do the best you can presenting.
I sent it.
That's
Let me check.
what this is all about. So I'm going to bring up the microphone for a little bit higher.
Got it.
And
See if it's working.
how much like using a microphone and kind of presenting during the stage you guys done as a class? Move it.
Yeah, that's it.
How many
Yeah,
times?
nice. Now just copy and
Is
paste
it like?
So
Okay.
you guys know the microphones, the
I
famous
sent
talking
you
stick.
No, I
Red
don't.
share my
LED
emails.
right
Oh,
now
really?
means it's
Yeah,
muted.
just
So,
just give me a second.
doing it.
I'm putting on
Oh,
the.
you're doing it? Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Guys, off with the phones. Look at me. It's important. Trust me. So the little red LED on the microphone means it's muted, which means it doesn't work. You press it once lightly, it turns from green to red. That means it's live. Now I'm super loud right now because the microphone's really nice and close to my mouth. If I'm more karaoke style and I'm like, hey, I'm proud, it sounds good. I can control how loud it is right now. I can turn it down. If I'm down here, it's not really doing its job. This may be comfortable for you, but the microphone can't pick up your voice from this far away. So it's hard to get you over the live stream if it's not closer. And again, it's a talking stick, not a pointing stick, okay? So keep it with your mouth. If you're here and you're like, hey, look, our game, pivot your whole body. Like keep your arm close to your body and just go, oh, hey, look, there's this cool thing in the game that we did. It'll really help. So I know it's not critical, but if you guys get good microphone technique, when we get to industry night for your final projects, which are a million years from now, you'll just do that much better of a job. That's the basics. Try and keep the black microphone on this side, and we'll pass the one that has the white tape. This one's got white tape right here. That lets me know which microphone is which back there. That's the basics. I've got a fader that lets me say how loud your game is. So if your game's quiet, I'll inch it up. If your game's loud, I'll inch it down. Don't play with the PC controls. Any questions? Oh, yeah. If someone presses it and it turns off, a long press turns it off. So if there's no LED, a quick press does nothing now. So you actually have to do a long press to hold it on. So the basic thing is, I'm here presenting, and now if you want to mute the microphone, you can press it once, and then you're not going to hear it rattle. You're not going to hear the microphone touch your body or go back into the stand or whatever else. So that's the basics. It's just red and green. But don't turn it off and then hand it to your partner, because then they'll have to struggle with it. So, thanks.
Those are the lights.
Oh yeah, so it's got to hurt. So here you can see me. Here I'm in the shadows, so you actually want to be seen. And so it's kind of a lineup from here to there. We should change those masking tape X's because they're in the wrong spots. Same thing over here. So you kind of have to be in a line this way. But we'll get you up on stage and it should be good. Yeah. So let's get some audience by 10, right? We want to roll at 10? Okay, 15 minutes. Cool. So yeah, you guys stay in the back and we'll get the audience up front so they can see your games. Thanks.
One more thing, did everyone try to run their builds on this computer?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah? Any team that hasn't done it yet? Because sometimes weird issues appear.
Because Windows.
Yeah, you never know. We'll start at 15, so you can grab your coffee if you want. Also, just to be 100% clear, because I still just got that question, it's very casual, so just talk about your game and just say like, hey, this is how we build it, and here's the game, and then you're playing it, and you explain as you go. Okay, but keep it casual, and I'll tell this to the entire audience in a bit, but
Can't see you.
after...
Ivo, I can't see you. There we go.
Yeah.
So much
Oh, it
better.
hurts so much. It's horrible. What was I going to say? Right, okay, after your presentation, there will be time for 2 questions from the audience. Sometimes there's nothing, sometimes there's 2. And then, of course, afterwards, when we're upstairs, they can actually ask more to your team. Also for upstairs, I don't know if everyone has builds ready to play upstairs, but if you don't have it yet, make sure that as soon as we're finished here, just rush upstairs, make sure that there's some builds for people to play. Okay?
Okay.
And the last thing is, if there's no questions, you have done your job to present your game. The thing you want to do is get people upstairs playing it and talk to you one-on-one. So don't go, wait, any questions? Any questions? Bueller, like don't, just, yeah, are there any questions? But if there aren't, go, great, we'll see you upstairs. Don't feel you have to validate your presentation for someone asking a question. Because that's the one thing that makes industry nights so awkward. You've got a room full of amazing people and they all just want to go up and play a game. Any questions? And then there's this awesome silence of nothing and you're staring into the light going, please, there's got to be something. The most important questions are going to be upstairs, face to face on the industry night. So it's just something that people feel they need to respect the audience. But if people don't have questions, let's go. And people will actually help when it's spot. Oh no, there's one in the back row, and then that can happen. So, because you can't see anything when the lights are right in your eyes. You're the deer in the headlights. You can't see anything. So, but yeah, it really helps. It feels so much more fluid to present, and then next team goes, and you guys have to go both on and street.
So if we do get a question, you want to repeat back the question?
Always. Yeah. It's just good. Just because again, the live stream, that microphone, that crappy little whatever it is microphone, is not. You're actually going. Sit in the front, guys. GD45 in the front because you get to see these awesome 44 games. Sorry, 6 games from the 44s.
Kill me, please. Kill me. Okay, good. Okay, easy. Kill my first, I'll kill you. Stop. You're gonna cook it now.
I just gave that light shooting to give you a
Steve? Steve here, I can't even see. Yeah, sweet. Just so you all know, I actually thought there wasn't going to be a live stream because I had never set it up before, but thanks to Peter and Jay who just set it up, there will be a live stream. Thank you very much, guys. And Jay sent an email with a link, so yeah, it's a bit late, but maybe you can still share it with friends or family.
Okay, more music coming, sorry. Hey, it's a Blu-ray player. You want CD? There we go. Sorry for the interruption.
everyone, to the 2D project presentations of GD44. You see, it's not as busy yet. Maybe some people are arriving late because it's early in the morning, of course. But thank you all for being here, especially GD45, of course. For you, it's I think a very useful experience to see what is expected of you in 4 months, and it's also just really fun to see these awesome projects. So the GD44s have been working really hard for the past 4 months on these projects, and I think besides creating this, learned a lot about themselves, their teams, and I think all in all it was a really good experience. For me, it's always fun because I just come by and check it out, but I think also for the students it's good. So what's going to happen is that each team is going to present their game. There's no PowerPoints or anything, it's just they're going to play through their game, kind of explain how they build it and what their game is about. And at the end of each presentation, there will be time for 1 or 2 questions. So if you have a question, just leave it until the end of their presentation. And if there are more questions after that, we can ask those upstairs, because afterwards we're all going to go upstairs and play the games in the classroom. Okay? So, I'll announce every game. So I'll start with the first one. This is a 2D platformer with really amazing graphics, with a bone animated character made with just Unity animation, no plugins, which was very impressive. Melee combo attacks, which I know were very hard to build. All in all, super cool game. Please welcome Harleen, Creatures of the Fracture.
Hi guys, I am Harley. I was the project manager and the game balancer on Harley Creatures of the Fracture. Does someone want to open the game? Thank you, Rebecca. So as Eva introduced, our game is a 2D hack and slash game, which has been very fun to work on. It is that one. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Cool. So I'm Harley. This is Noah. Noah was the artist. This is Alan. Alan was the programmer. Jackson was one of our level designers and concept artist. And then this is Rebecca, our main
Level designer.
that. Cool. So instead of me talking to you about the game, why don't we just show you instead?
There has always existed a balance in nature. 2 ancient races deep within the earth kept this balance. Half a century ago, unrest began to divide the two, causing a great battle and leaving behind toxic fumes. These fumes dissolved the balance of nature, mutating everything they came in contact with. Bearing a sword forged from the crystals of the earth, a young warrior rose. Harleen, humanity's last hope. She must purify the land and defeat the creatures to restore the balance of nature and save our world.
Alright, so again, I'm Rebecca. I was the main level designer, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the gameplay. One thing we really wanted to focus on was finding out what was the most fun of our game and really bringing that out. So you might notice, or maybe you'll see later, we don't actually have any lock screens. We played with the idea of lock screens in the beginning. We found out that one of our most fun kills was the magic attack, which you'll see here in a bit. And when we had lock screens, you could find yourself without enough magic. And if we left mana drops so you could get more magic, it just didn't seem as fun or like a challenge. So what we've done instead is we took out the lock screens, but you get mana back for killing enemies, so there's more of an incentive to go around killing them, which is really fun. Another thing we focused on was we have 3 main levels, and we wanted to give them all a different world feel. So this is the tutorial level. We teach with tutorial rocks that teach you the combos. It's a little bit more flat. The second one's more aerial. We have more aerial enemies. And the third level is meant to be underground, so you have enemies from the top and bottom that you're fighting as well. One thing I think really helped sell the 3 different levels was some fantastic environmental art from our artist Noah, so I'll pass it off to him.
Hi, my name's Noah, and I was the artist for this project. Although I don't actually consider myself an artist, I'm more of an animator, as you can see. What I really wanted to do in this game, rather than focusing on like the art aspect, which I still think it looks pretty good, I wanted to bring everything to life. So like, if you pay attention to everything, like all the grass, all the animations, all the trees, everything's slightly moving. It's like I wanted to like bring the atmosphere of the world, kind of make it seem like everything's alive, which is also the reason why we have like a parallaxing backgrounds. If you can notice, like it's like almost like a 2.5D. It's not really 3D, but it's like 2.5D, and like we have like depth of field a little bit with some back platforms and forward platforms. The reason for this is because I really wanted to bring this world to life. And the final thing is like with the color palette I chose, I wanted to choose like some monotone type colors for the platforms, and like some really bright colors for like the trees and the grass and all that, just to bring everything more to pop out a little bit more and make it look more cool.
So I'm Alan, and I was working as programmer for this game. Getting the combat system to work was an interesting experience. It took almost the entire game making of the 4 months to get the combat to feel right, to make it feel not clunky, and to get the combos to really work as responsive as they are now. We had to take away some elements from the game, some other things that we programmed in that weren't really working, and it worked out best for the game to make it more simple, to keep it as this is the fun things to do, so these are the things that we should really focus on. Working on the AI was also very interesting, having all the enemies to react different to the main character and how they react when you're in the scene and when you're not in the scene. So yeah, it was pretty good, very interesting to do.
Yeah, so something else that we did with the level design, if you noticed in the tutorial level, is that we had a few rocks in the background that indicated what buttons the player would need to press, which was something we came up with early on, just because we wanted to teach the player in a way that they could keep playing without like having them like stop and pause the screen. And yeah, that was, I designed the tutorial level, and then we kind of came up with that. We placed it, as we switched the mechanics around, we had to kind of remove and re-add things into that level as well. So yeah, that was an interesting experience because there was a lot of do-overs for some of the levels.
Alright, I'm just going to talk about audio for a second. This game is fairly audio intensive, and that was actually my favorite thing to do on this project. I love audio. I didn't realize how much until I actually started working on it. And I worked with Steve, amazing guy. Thank you, Steve. Love you. Awesome. And this game really came together with audio. Like everything I thought that's so lame, and then I put audio and I'm like, this is awesome. I actually hated our project until 2 days ago, and now I love it. Everything finally came together in the last week, and I really like it now. And the audio really brought life to this project. Time for the final cutscene.
Are there any questions?
All right, guys.
How many different enemy types are there in the game? Like, what are their special abilities?
Well, I'd recommend just coming upstairs and playing for yourself to check it all out, because we have like 5 different enemies. It would take a while to go through all the details, but please come up and try our games. We really would like that. It would be awesome.
Any more questions? Yes.
What did you cut?
So the question was, what did we cut? There were 2 combat mechanics that we cut, which were a teleport and a dodge. They were a lot of fun to play with, but ultimately they really didn't fit in with the experience or add much to it, so we just trimmed them out. Anything else?
Do you have time for one more question, or? No, we're good.
All right, thanks guys.
Thank you very much. That was awesome. And one of the things one of the things they didn't show was when you quit the game, it fades out really cool, which I always thought was really awesome. So when you're playing, also quit the game because it looked really cool. So the next team wanted to make a top-down game, and they had a lot of features that really pushed of what's allowed in the 2D projects, because they said, oh, we kind of want to have walls and we want to have pathfinding, and it's easier if we make it 3D. And then we want to add lights, and then I said, okay, well, you can add some cubes, and then they added a perspective camera, which is totally not allowed, and so they really pushed it, and but eventually got to a really great 2D feel, even though using a couple of 3D elements. But yeah, really awesome, scary game where you're running away from zombies. Please welcome Go Back Inside.
Good morning, everyone. We're the team from Go Back Inside. I hope that you enjoyed the playthrough. I am Nacho, the PM.
I'm Rahul, I'm the programmer. I'm Jorge, level designer.
And you, the artist.
So, as you've been told, one of the struggles, but what made us go forward as we intended with geometry and 3D lighting behaving over the geometry, we had to go 3D, even though Evo always switches back. We always ended up like tilted like at 2.5, maybe going to 3D, but Evo always kept us in scope. So I hope you really like it. Rahul will talk about the programming a bit.
Okay, so the biggest challenge we had with the project was the real-time lighting and also the pathfinding with the ghouls. So, as you can see in a minute, like the ghouls won't be able to cross the door as long as the door is closed, and then we had to change the whole of the nav mesh and redefine it again. So the player walks and can collect keys, has a flashlight which is used to get rid away from the ghouls. Basically, it stuns them for a few seconds so that you can get away from them and move forward with the journey. There are certain checkpoints in the whole level which will recharge your flashlight on the left hand side.
Could you guys tell us a bit about your side of the project?
Well, I did the level design, and I have to care about the player moving through the geometry without getting lost because of the dark of the level, and also where to place the enemies so they maintain good pacing during the game.
As an artist, it's a top-down view game, but we also want to we don't want to show only the head of the character, so we choose a little bit slightly orthographic view, so it's pretty hard to make set the perspective. Yeah, it's a pretty hard one for me.
So what we wanted to aim for in the game is to do horror, but not the tacky kind of horror that just like jump scares you. We wanted to keep like a constant feel while being colorful and showing all the great artwork of you. So we wanted to keep it not that dark, because I think that's a really like overused resource or excuse in a way to keep a game like horror genre. Level design wise, I would add onto Jorge's work that it was such a great challenge, trying to keep the feeling of a manor and wide spaces while trying to drive the player towards the place we wanted them to, and to feel the pressure of the ghouls creeping onto you. And Rahul is like, it was great because he applied actually for UI art and ended up coding the whole game. And that is a great feat, so that's invaluable. It was great, it was a great journey for us as a team, and we all learned a lot along the way of the game. As you can see, we have 8 flashlight charges, so we want to keep the player from using their flashlight too sparingly, either to find the notes, which gives you a little bit of fluff and a little bit of insight about Jay's story, which is our main character. The safe spots, the big huge terminal with the light is what recharges your light, and it's kind of a checkpoint for the player to keep pretty much spawning back, because as you can see, you will die a lot. We didn't add it lives because we wanted it to be an experience from point A to point B for the player. We just wanted the challenge of having to repeat and learn from their mistakes again and again. So it's pretty much we want them to go through all of the game without being too punishing, because it is already hard. So the checkpoint system is pretty much our penalty or our life system.
So basically in the game you can pick notes, and that will basically tell you about the story bits, and also what's happening with the character, why is she here, and all the other information you need to progress through the whole game.
Could we go to the second level, Rahul, so that they can see a bit of the second atmosphere? Pretty much the first level is just an introductory and tutorialized part of the game. The second level shows way harder mechanics and more pressure on the ghouls and the amount of ghouls that we present to the player. It might seem weird that it's just suddenly from a manner into a laugh, but if you guys get to read the notes, you will figure out why. Pretty much if you guys get to the last level, you will see what we have in store for you. You'll have a lot of fun. Well, this is go back inside, and we'll see you up playing our game. Thank you. Questions?
And one in the middle? Yeah, is it possible for a player to make it to the second level without going through any of the notes in the first level?
Yes, the notes are just another challenge, and they were positioned on pretty hot spots of ghouls. So it's just like a completionist kind of thing if you want to get more into the game, but you don't need them.
The game dimension actually makes it very important to immerse the players into horror games especially. So why do you guys go top down, or why was it so important that you guys went top down to give that horrific feel to the player?
Could you repeat that?
Why was the game dimension like a 2D top down game instead of like a platformer or something to get more horrific experience?
Because we wanted it to be about spatial awareness and strategy and position for the ghouls, because you have the geometry on the doors for you to escape the ghouls, and if it's a platformer, it doesn't give you the same feel. We wanted to show all the artwork and pretty much the feel that it's a huge space and a manor, and 2D just gets rid of all of that and it's just layers, foreground, middle ground, and background.
And also at the beginning, we all motivated by one game called Dim Light. It's a kind of top-down horror game, and it's pretty much we are just motivated, and we want to give a feel to player that be chased by the horrifying monsters. Yeah, that is why we choose the top-down view.
Well, do we have time for any more questions? No. Okay, thank you. Please, go ahead to say.
That game is a lot harder than it seemed here. They died a few times, but I died like every 10 seconds. I don't know if it's me, but it's pretty hard. Yeah, so the next game is actually a very cool shape-shifting game in which you're a piece of paper that can fold itself in all these different shapes, and you'll need to do that to complete the level. There's one part that I like the most because, as you probably know, I'm Dutch, and there's some windmills and you can fly over them, so that really, made me miss my home a bit. Please welcome Unfolded.
No, that's got tape. That goes the other way. Yeah, sorry, I'm thinking my right, not your right. Now that one's muted. Charles, your microphone's muted. My microphone's muted?
Yes.
There we go. Yay!
Hello everyone, thank you for coming out today. We're Tail Whip Interactive and this is Unfolded. My name is Charles Goodrich and I am the project manager.
Hi, I'm Izzy, I was programmer.
I'm Meta, I'm the main artist of the game.
And I'm Paulo, I'm the level designer of the game.
One sec, we have to restart the build because if you use the mouse at the start, then it ends up making it so the controller doesn't quite work. So, our creative process started with informed aesthetic, and I'm going to pass it off to Meta to talk a little bit about how we came to this aesthetic.
Yeah, so when we start brainstorming, we put all the ideas on the table. We had so many ideas. We started with making a 8-bit game, then we overscoped our ideas and came up with this game, origami game. And the biggest challenge for us, the game is Metrovania, and it's hard to solve the puzzles and came up with a good design that matches the world and the character. And for the level design, I will pass to Paulo.
Yeah, so as they mentioned, the game is a Metrovania-like puzzle game. So as such, we decided not to make 3 levels as required, but we make a huge level that's worth for 3. And the biggest challenge of making this Metrovania game is that you have to make many ways to find yourself coming back and forth in the same places. And another big challenge is to make the puzzles for a Metrovania game that cannot break the game. So that was my main issue. Because we have a lot of pushing puzzles, pushing blocks, and mixing them with wind mechanics, mix them with wall jump for the frog, swimming, and for that you could just simply, I had to thought really hard of what could break the level and what could not. Yeah. And this is a really cool moment. But yeah, so other than that, there was a really great challenge to make a puzzle game. It's not really easy. But I think I'm really happy with the learning path of the game and the flow. So with that, I'm gonna pass now for Charles to explain a little bit more of the programming process.
So we had a lot of interesting problems come up with coding Unfolded. The first major problem was trying to figure out how we can have the character change shapes, and the way that we ended up doing that is we have multiple scripts on the character, and by switching into different forms, you're enabling and disabling different scripts. And at first, before we got into the animations, we were unsure of how we wanted to do the aesthetic changes for the character. So we had the we would instantiate prefabs over the character, and then once we got to putting in our animations, we saw that the animator could have handled that all for us. So we ended up having to basically redo a lot of the code. Physics being the main driving force for the puzzles in the game was very important to tune, and it took a lot of time to do that as well. So I would say those were our biggest challenges in terms of coding, and that's Unfolded. Are there any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Unfolded. That was great. The next team started with 4. As you know, the 2D project teams are sometimes 4 people, sometimes 5. So this team started small and actually had a dropout, so ended up with only 3 people here today, which is why it's even extra special that they made such an awesome and well-polished game. It's really cool. It's a platformer with multiple levels, and even I'm just hoping they actually made it work in the end. The boss fight? Yeah, even a boss fight. So, really cool game. Please welcome Rusted Gears.
Hello. Yeah, hi guys. So my name's Spencer. I was the project manager. I did audio, and all of us ended up sharing the level design because Evo mentioned our level designer dropped out.
I'm Kieran. I was a programmer. And I'm Jamie, and I was an artist.
Yeah, so basically we're going to hop into the gameplay, and Spencer's going to take us away.
Yeah, so when designing this game, we really wanted to give the kind of retro NES feel. We took a lot of inspiration when we were discussing this project from games like Mega Man and things of that nature. So I'm just going to let Jamie play it so you can listen to it a bit, and then I'll talk some more. This is our tutorial level. Every weapon, we have 3 in the game. They all have a different main shot and a secondary shot that you can use. And the top left is your health, and that bar underneath is the charge for your secondary shot. Kieran, do you want to talk about some of the programming?
Yeah, sure. So the programming was not too difficult for the most part. I think the biggest issue we would have had was with the weapon swapping, which was a bit of a challenge for a while, but managed to figure it out, and it's not too big of a deal now. The enemies were pretty simple. The animations, similar to Unfolded, we found out we could do it a much easier way after we had done it otherwise through scripts, so we kind of went through and cleaned everything up after that. Yeah.
Yeah, that right there was sort of like a checkpoint we had to add later because we found the game to be far too difficult if there was no health back. Those rolling enemies hit really hard, so don't get hit by them when you play it.
Yeah, we've scaled all the enemies, so they each do
different damage based on their difficulties. So the rolling enemy, he does the most damage because it's one of the easiest to dodge. So if you get hit, it's kind of punishing you for the fact that it gives you the time to dodge that.
Yeah, the whole process of making this game was actually really, really fun for us. I think it took a lot of there's a lot of design decisions that we had to make surrounding the game to make it feel balanced and more fun than it was. We spent a lot of time tuning the jump, so I hope you guys enjoy it, because it's not the easiest thing in the world to do.
Yeah, we tried to just focus on kind of the core of the game, kind of like the skeleton, before we built up from that. So just focus on the core mechanics, make sure that felt really good before we moved on to anything else.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time in the gym making sure everything with the character felt clean, crisp, and fun to do before we actually started implementing any more difficult mechanics or even enemies in the game. We just wanted to make sure that that character felt really well controlled.
Obviously we had one of our team members unfortunately drop out, but as a result of that, I think it pushed us further to keep working harder to make sure we could get stuff done. So
yeah, it definitely did, and that's Rusted Gears, and I hope you guys will come play it. Does anyone have any questions?
Did you guys have custom audio done, or is that all from the 5 Alarm?
That was all from the SFX library.
Oh,
Where
did the music come from?
Oh, the music was from Newgrounds.
Oh, nice.
Anyone think?
What was the fourth member role?
They were the level designer. So we all just kind of ended up taking on the role and sharing responsibilities of that to make it what it is now. So yeah, thank you.
You guys quit your games to open up this business? Never mind.
Thanks, guys. So, the next game is a very unique one. They made the game, they wanted to make the game really scary, and they managed to do that actually. They combined audio and art in a really good way. I hope we can get that experience right here on the big screen, and otherwise play it yourself later upstairs. Use the headphones, because it really gets pretty intense. Please welcome Shadowplay.
Hello everyone, my name is Delaney. I was the project manager and I also helped out with level design and coding. To my right here we have Sonu, he was a coder. Over here we have Andrew, he was involved in the level design. And we also have Jay, who was the main artist for the game. So we'll get right into it here. The one thing we had 4 game ideas we wanted to start off with. We kind of went back and forth between them. This is actually one of the bugs we're having right now, is the starting animation doesn't want to play until the 3rd time through the build. And it's always the 3rd time, so it's a work in progress. But we learned real quick with the lighting mechanic that we wanted to do, and with having items appear the closer you got to them based on your light radius, was very difficult and challenging. Sony was able to solve it pretty quick in the build, but we learned as we went through it, the more we added to the game, the more it started breaking. So it was a lot of bug fixing throughout the entire project as a whole. And I'll pass it off to Jay to talk about the art style.
I need to find a key. Hello? Okay, awesome. So for the art style that we chose kind of like a pixel art style, mainly because it was really unique. I haven't actually used pixel art style before. At first I was a little kind of, I don't want to do pixel because I've never done it before. But now, after doing this whole thing, I just realized that pixel art isn't that bad. It's not that scary. It's actually quite fun.
Some more fuel.
So yeah.
I can use this.
Hello.
Yeah. It's locked.
So I was the programmer for this game, and not until beta did we realize that to make a really good horror game, we need the visual feedbacks. We need to convey the player the different informations that they, like the stuff that they collect, the stuff that they can do, the visual feedbacks if the coast is closed. Every kind of feedback that actually aids the player and stimulates that same feeling of horror. So what I face problems in making the puzzle itself, because I'm new at coding, and yeah, it was hard for me, but I managed it. Like sequence puzzles and everything. Yeah, it was a great thing to do. It was a great gig. Well, next, Andrew, our level designer.
So the hardest challenge was I need to come up with the different puzzle for each session. So each sessions are different rooms, so such as dining room or kitchen, bedroom, something like that. So I want to make the player handle the different stuff of each sessions, and then
I think I can use this.
and then whenever I come up with the puzzle,
I can use this.
I need to care about some overscope. So it's really hard to cut out the puzzle feature which is not necessary. And then actually it was really difficult that our game is not like kind of platforming type, like a rainbow thing. So I need to focus on the puzzle, which is really make players need to think and solve the puzzle like with more knowledge. So that was the hard things. Okay, so.
Just want to get past this little area.
It's the build. It's the build.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as you can see, we still have a few bugs to work out. Overall, I think we did a pretty good job. We still have a few bugs to work out.
Yep.
There we go.
It's the build.
But like Andrew was saying, the hardest challenge for us was designing a level that could actually challenge the player, but also not overscoping in the process, as in order to add a bunch of new coding stuff to the project involved a lot of time that we didn't have, unfortunately. Overall, I think we did a good level. I want to keep some of the jump scares and the ghost spawn for you guys to come up and play, because it's a little more enjoyable that way once you have headphones on. And that's Shadow Play. Thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. One of the best moments here, I think, is when they're inside the closet or inside the vase and you hear the breathing, you actually get the shivers. If you're listening to the headphones, it's really a really good experience, or scary experience, I guess. So the last team already, only 6 teams. And this last team also had a shape-shifting game. And it's really cool because you control multiple elements. You control earth, water, fire, air, right? Those are the 4 main elements. And you have to control those in order to proceed through the level. You gain them step by step. And to me, actually, one of the best parts is when you're water, you can go through these pipes. And I'm sure we'll see this in a bit, but you can go through these pipes and it just like goes... we'll see this. It's really fun. Please welcome Magnum Opus.
So, hello everyone. My name is Yuri. I am the project manager in AKA Studio. This is Olivia, our artist, Skyler, our programmer, and Eric, our level designer. And we're going to present you guys today Magnum Opus. So Magnum Opus is a 2D puzzle platformer where you play as Actor, a being made of ether. And why you need to go through all the 4 elemental realms, solving puzzles, rescuing villagers, and trying to bring peace to those kingdoms. In this game you can change forms. So Actor being made of ether, he can absorb the other elements to use in his favor. So he can use fire, wind, water, and earth as the player gets those elements in each of the realms. And Eric created a very well-crafted level design to challenge the player in each of the unique uses of the elements and combinations of those. And, well, this game was very unique to us. I'm quite proud of it. And one of the most unique features is for sure our art style, which I'm going to pass to Olivia to talk a little bit about it.
Cool, thank you. So one of our biggest inspirations when we came to designing Actor was realizing that to animate 5 different elemental color schemes was going to be a huge time crunch, and we'd have to cut down on a lot of other assets if we focused on that. So we borrowed an art style that I'd seen in an older anime called Genkutsuo, if any of you've ever seen it, where it's actually a tiled background texture with sort of like a window shape that is the form of Actor. So it saved us a lot of time and effort when it came to animating him, and also for all of the enemies and the captives as well. We also took a lot of inspiration from Ori and the Blind Forest, and how they used really beautiful and multicolored art schemes and environments. So I got to have a lot of fun just playing with each environment and really just making a lot of colors pop. Same with the other assets and puzzle elements as well. So I had a blast doing it, and I was surprised that we were able to get as much in the little time that we did. And with all of the art assets, there were a lot of coding hiccups that came with that, so I'll pass that off to Skylar to talk about.
Hi, so I find that our game is actually kind of overscoped. The reason why we were able to overscope our game is because I made a poly editor which allows us to edit geometry, so we can have irregular geometry all over the world, which allowed us to make a lot of geometry. Yeah, so we use this, I apply this, okay, so the way I make this geometry is by editing it via script. So I edit the mesh in real time for certain things like the vine and the pipe.
So this is the 3rd level. Eric's already on the earth part. So you're gonna see soon the boulder farm. So we have 2 kinds of abilities. When you become water, you can use the water jet, and you have the swimming, the pipes. When you become fire, you can shoot fireballs. With earth, you can become a boulder and hit switches. And the one we in our playtest that people had the most fun with was the next one that Eric's gonna show now, in the wind level, where you actually become wind itself. So as you can see, you can fly through a small amount of time, and since that's the most, could be our most game-breaking skill, we left to the very end of the game, to the last level, where the player would be able to fly around and use all the elements together to figure out the puzzles. And yeah, that's about it. We have 4 levels and a full-fledged boss that we're gonna showcase a little bit now.
Tu desafiaste minha vontade. Os humanos ainda vivem. Inaceitável. Se é esta tua escolha, que assim seja. Estou cansado de sermos insolentes. Minha vontade será respeitada. Os humanos serão destruídos e o mundo populado por novos e mais obedientes elementais. Sinta minha fúria, Hector.
So yeah, this is Aether, the creator, the god of the elementals. He's the one and the final boss for the game. So during his journey, Aether learned compassion, and he was created by this god to destroy the humans and bring peace to the elementals. But he chose to defy his will, and now he must face him in the final battle. As being the god of the elementals, Aether has access to all 4 elementals to use against you. So you must actually destroy each one of these hands so you can actually, you have a chance of hitting the head. And that didn't happen. And there you go. Are there any questions?
Those are some pretty sweet particle effects, but I have to make.
So the question was, what went into making the particles?
The particle effects.
The particle effects. Unity's default particle system. Yeah.
Yeah, we just felt it fitted really well with the shaders and the characters themselves, so kind of was a no-brainer for us. Any other questions?
You.
Oh, the background of the character, like depending on the form, I really like that. How did you make it?
So the question was about the inside of the character, how it changes in different forms. Olivia?
Yeah, so the short form it's a combination of both of our efforts, where I just made a tiled texture for each different element, and then based on a specific fill color that was inside of the actual character, that was sort of a trigger, like a green screen, to show a specific elemental tile that's behind it. So it was sort of a combination of those two. If you want to get more technical, we can talk about that upstairs too. Anyone else? One more? No? Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Amazing. Those levels are actually way bigger. They went through it really fast, but they're really gigantic levels, so you actually have a lot of gameplay. And do you guys know how long it is? Like one playthrough?
20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah, so it's pretty huge. Okay, well that was all. 6 teams, 6 working 2D projects, which is always good, because you never know. So awesome job, GD44. It was great in the past 4 months. Sorry for not being here in the last few weeks, but you guys pulled it off, so great job at that. So applause for everyone. And also, before we go upstairs, I want to thank a couple people. I want to thank Steve for doing the audio right now, but also for teaching them audio and helping them implement all this amazing audio that you heard. So thank you, Steve. And I want to thank Glenn right over there for teaching them project management, planning. And he was also there for teams that had some stress or some team issues, so always good to know that Glenn is around.
Yes.
Also I'd like to thank Jay, the Unity TA, who's helped them with a bunch of technical problems. Thanks, Jay. And last but not least, I want to thank Peter, because he was there for the alpha and beta presentations to actually give them a lot of good feedback. So thank you, Peter. Okay, I hope that you guys all liked it. I hope the GD45s are inspired to create similar games. I hope you guys are not too scared, because it's it can be a bit daunting when you're just getting started, but I'm sure you guys will pull it off as well. So yeah, without anything else, let's go upstairs. Thank you.